Welcome, everyone, to Bet What Happens Live. I am Nick Giffen. Joining me today, we have Gilles Gallant, anytime touchdown interception specialist, my buddy from the Touchdown Show, replacing Grant this week. And Gilles, I think we're ready to hop on a prop pretty quickly here.
Yeah, I think we need to look at Jahan Dotson immediately for receptions. We really love this prop today when we were looking at the same game parlay for Action Island. And right now it's still sitting there at 3.5. He's got one in the first half. They're going to be in a trailing game script. We should lock this in sooner rather than later.
Yeah, exactly. So if we look at Jahan Dotson receptions, we can get, let's see, Jahan Dotson over 3.5 receptions. You can get that around minus 150. I'm seeing, let's see, minus 145. Minus 145 at DraftKings. We're showing 63% to the over, but they have the ball now, and they'll start with the ball in the second half. So locking in Jahan Dotson over 3.5 receptions right off the bat. He already has one, so he just needs three more to clear this, and we have 63% to the over, like I said, and that's probably underestimated considering they have the ball now. They'll have the ball for the 2-minute drill. They'll have the ball to start the second half. So we are locking in that right now. We gave that out as part of our Action Island parlay over 3.5, and now we're still showing value on that over 3.5. So that's kind of where we stand now. Real quick, we wanted to get that bet in, but let me recap the game state here. We have the Chicago Bears leading the Washington Commanders by a score of 20-3. So a 17-point lead for the Bears. That's pretty significant because right now, if we look at like the live odds, they're around 80% to win, which means we're projecting the Commanders to pass at an 8.5% higher rate for the rest of the game, and the Bears to rush 8.5% more than their pregame projection, I should say, and the Bears to rush about 4.5% more than their pregame rush percentage. It's harder for the Bears to rush more than they already do.
This is true.
So that's why theirs is lower. But another thing that I think is interesting, when the Bears have a significant lead, this game slows down by only 1 second. So we're not really looking at any kind of tempo adjustment. So we'll just have to keep that in mind, not necessarily any kind of tempo adjustments overall. Sam Howell intercepted, but unfortunately we do not get the pick six. That was part of the Action Island parlay.
I was legitimately going to bring it up today, man.
A Bears
touchdown.
Say
in the second half, he's going to be trailing. There's going to be and it was right there. It was like minus 105 for him to throw an interception for the rest of the game. And I thought, okay, if we can get out of this drive, we should look at it at halftime. And there it is. So, sooner rather than later, we know our intuition feels good. That just means we're going to have to find a different angle.
Yeah, absolutely. And the funny thing is, so we're still at the end of the first half here. If I tick this over to the second half, if I tick my model over to the second half because of the 2-minute drill, things are a little different, but it becomes even more drastic. So I said that before that the Commanders were around 8% heavier pass rate. We still got that, but the Bears become even heavier on the rush at around 6% heavier rush rate than our pregame projection, instead of around 4.5. So it definitely matters which part of the half we're on because of the 2-minute drill, for example, right? The Bears here, they're going to be passing because they're in the 2-minute drill trying to score one more time before the half. But then as soon as it ticks over to the second half, they don't need to worry about a 2-minute drill. So their rush percentage jumps even more. So Bears do have the ball as we are approaching the 2-minute warning. And now we are at the 2-minute warning. It'll be 3rd and 7 on the Commanders 33. So they're in field goal range. We about a 51-yarder. This seems like a good time to take a breather. And Gilles, do you have any props you might be considering while we're still at the 2-minute warning?
Well, the first one I would want to look at was one of the most popular pre-game. And given the fact that the Bears are likely going to have to run more a little bit here in the second half and not as much on this drive, I'm looking at Justin Fields' rushing yards right now. And it's at 18 yards. He's only rushed it 3 times so far in the first half, but it's now down to 40.5. It was at 48.5 pre-game. So given where he's at, I'm still thinking that we may want to look at Khalil Herbert instead. But at the same time, I wanted to just see if there's maybe value on Fields or Herbert in this spot.
Yeah. So also, I think we should take a look at Rashawn Johnson. We should take a look at all of them because Rashawn Johnson could get extra work if this turns into a blowout, if the Bears score here, for example.
It's looking like it.
Yeah, exactly. So we have, as far as rushing props, what do we have for yardage on these guys? We got Fields at 44.5. We have Rashawn Johnson at FanDuel off the board. And then Khalil Herbert at 97.5. So I'm showing for these guys, I'm showing 75% to the under on Khalil Herbert at 97.5. Plus, if he gets spelled, unless I have his rushing yards correct at 56. But
especially because that first attempt, like, it's a little bit inflated for his 56 yards that he has right now, because that one carry went for 35 yards. So I'm kind of wondering, unless he breaks a big one like that again, we're pretty strong here on an under here. So I'd love to see a little bit more.
Yeah, I agree. And I'm just going to real quick check DraftKings for the rushing props, see if there's one for Rashawn Johnson. I don't see one live for him for rushing yards, but so right now we're showing pretty big value on Khalil Herbert's under 97.5. Plus the Bears are on third down and kind of a little bit long here. I believe it was 3rd and 7. Is that what I said? Yeah. And they're not going to start with the ball in the second half. So I'm going to take Khalil Herbert under 97.5 rushing yards right now. I'm going to take that.
I'm doubling with you. And we're just realizing in the chat, this is probably why, because Nick and I were talking up there. Roschon's out of the game with a concussion.
That changes things. But so Roschon out of the game. It's fine though, because we don't have Roschon projected for, a whole bulk of Khalil Herbert's rushing yardage. I think we could see maybe some of that go to Justin Fields, maybe some of that to go to a different running back as well. But it certainly dampens things a little bit on that under 97.5. But that's why we always have these chat open here. So really good to point that out. That's why we have chat open. But I'm still okay with the under, because I don't necessarily think that he's going to have these explosive plays as much. Washington's going to be able to key in on the run game, because they know the Bears are just going to run it down their throats at this point. So I'm still okay with it. Certainly, if we add in, let's say we add in all of Rashawn Johnson's, just to be safe, we add in all of Rashawn Johnson's yardage, we still only get 99.5 yards for Rashawn Johnson's projection, Khalil Herbert's projection, and Khalil Herbert's current yards combined. And the whole thing is 97.5. So I'm feeling still pretty okay about taking that under.
Well, maybe we might have to pivot here, because Herbert just went for another 16 yards. So I think that's the other thing too right now. I cannot believe that right now his live total is now up to 121.5 after having 76 total yards. So especially now with Roschon ruled out, this could be a little bit more tricky, I think, here in the second half, especially if the Bears just look to bleed the clock.
Yep. So we'll have to pivot off of Khalil Herbert. I mean, we've already made that one, but at this point, I think it's probably a lost cause there, especially ripping off such a large run on 3rd and 7. So yeah, it seems they're just pounding it with Khalil Herbert right now. So we will look elsewhere. Gilles, where else do you want to look aside from this Bears running game?
Well, again, I know the Commanders are special to your heart, and I know we just watched him throw an interception, but you got to think he's going to be throwing a lot more in the second half. I'd love to know if there's still value on Sam Howell for another interception in the second half.
Sam Howell for an interception. We have, let's see, currently with 67 seconds left in this half, we have Sam Howell at plus 140 for an interception, for another one, I should say.
Yeah. So no, that's why we asked.
But
so that's why we
Cole Kmet scores a touchdown. That'll certainly change things as well. So the Bears extend their lead to 26-3 pending the extra point. 26-3. There's 24 seconds left in this half, and it's just all coming apart for the Commanders. So that'll push this to 26-3, 27-3, maybe a 24-point lead for the Bears here. And I just need to update the live odds, because, it's pretty much out of control right now. The books have it at about Washington to win just 6% of the time at this point, if we look at the live money lines. So not looking good for the Washington Commanders, which actually means that does change Sam Howell's projection just a little bit. He's actually at plus 130 now throw an interception simply because once it gets this out of hand, teams kind of late will often just revert back to running. Now, I do want to tick it over to the second half and see if that changes things, because there's only 24 seconds left in this half. Commanders may just kneel it down here and go into the second half. So I'm just going to go in assuming second half. And that actually does make his odds jump to plus 162 for an interception rest of game for Sam Howell.
Well, the other thing that I was going to ask too is maybe once we get to the second half and they start opening up the idea of second half anytime touchdowns, is maybe that's the way that we can start looking at some of the Commanders pass catchers, especially Terry McLaurin or maybe even Jahan Dotson in that spot too. Probably not feeling Sam Howell for an anytime touchdown, but I would be maybe interested in looking at his rushing yards in case he wanted to try to extend a third down. But that'd probably be the extent of it.
Yeah, I agree with that. So we will definitely, once halftime hits, we'll take a look at second half anytime touchdowns. For those of you that do have Bet365, that's typically the place we like to go for second half anytime touchdown, just because they tend to have the best odds, not across the board, but they tend to be pretty generous with those. But make sure you still have whatever options are available to you open, and shop around. So that's where we'll look once we get there. But right now we're not quite there. So if you had to pick one spot to look right now, Gilles, where would you look?
I'm just being real. Like, honestly, I would be wanting to look at Khalil Herbert touchdown. I'm kind of wondering if right now that would be the spot that I would look at, or maybe even if we're not looking at touchdown props, I mean, I would probably want to be looking at Sam Howell rushing yards. I'm kind of thinking that he's going to probably try to take off and make something happen here in the second half, which is kind of why I was leaning towards the interception.
Yeah. I mean, at this point, if you're Washington, your only way back in this game is to throw the ball, and they already throw at the second highest rate in the NFL versus expectations. So they should be throwing quite a bit. Sam Howell right now, he has, let's see, what is it? 3 rushing yards. So rest of game, we have him projected for 6 rushing yards, but that's before adjusting his scramble percentage upwards. So we got to think it's north of 6 rushing yards rest of game plus the 3 he has now. So, once we look at rushing props for Sam Howell, I see a 10.5, and we've got like 9 projected without adjusting his scramble rate upward.
Now, another one, I want to shout out to Michael Roberts, who's watching. He suggested Darnell Mooney for a reception here in the second half, where the line is at a half. So he just has to have 1 catch in the second half. And like he mentioned, he's got 4 targets here. I know the Bears are going to be more in a running script, but he did make a good point that they still have to move the ball occasionally here. Darnell Mooney is going to be playing. Kind of wondering if there might be a little shot here for at least 1 reception, especially when, it's pretty low odds here at this stage.
Yeah. Well, so for Mooney right now, we have projected at 1.1 receptions rest of game. But again, that's an average. So his chance to go over half a reception is a 67% chance right now, based off of our model. So yeah, I don't mind that. I mean, 4 targets, and he's run a route on 17 routes with DJ Moore running 21. So he's getting almost the same amount of usage as DJ Moore. And there have been a total of 24 dropbacks. So he's run a route on 17 of the 24 dropbacks. I don't mind that. I mean, the Bears are still going to have to throw some the rest of this game. So I do like that Darnell Mooney over half a reception, just depending on the juice that you are getting.
I see a minus 110 right now at
plus 102 at FanDuel. Plus 102 at FanDuel.
Oh, so it just went up. Okay. So I'm trying to keep it up to date.
Now it's minus 102. Yeah. So it's just kind of bouncing back and forth, but I like that. We've got a 67% chance of him going over. So
yeah, I'm going to take that. I'm going to bet that one.
That is an official bet. I love it. That's why we want your chat interaction here, because you'll point out things we can't see everything all at once. But we're going to do Darnell Mooney over half a reception at minus 102 at FanDuel. So make sure you grab that. It just locked. It'll unlock here in just a moment as well. But it looks like we are, let's see, got the Commanders here with the ball 27-3, 3 seconds left in the half. And we got a timeout. So just got to kind of still wait in this holding pattern with just a few seconds left here in the half. But 27-3, the Commanders will start with the ball in the second half. Weren't we just talking about something else before we changed there to we were looking at anytime touchdowns? Everything had been locked at that point in time when I was pulling up those anytime touchdowns, and looks like they still are. The one thing I am curious about is how books will deal with this Khalil Herbert anytime touchdown, given that Roshan is in the concussion protocol. Will they super shorten it? Because then I definitely, I think we should probably stay away from that, even though we think you'll get a ton of work. But just one of those.
What
weird
about
spots.
third on the depth chart though? I did not see his odds if they were listed pre-game, but I believe Travis Homer is active, so that could be an option of maybe a third running back. But I've got to see the odds first before I even make a judgment.
Yeah, and our model isn't even set up to attune for that, because we'd have to give him some kind of pregame projection, and I'm not going to go ahead and do that right now. So it's just one of those spots. But we are officially at halftime. Right. It is 27-3 for the Chicago Bears over the Washington Commanders. So real quick reset. We have the Bears at about 93.5% to win, just based off of the live odds that are being offered at various books. You can just average them and remove the juice. And it's about 93.5% for the Bears to win. So the Commanders are expected to pass about 67% of the time in the second half. And the Bears are expected to rush about 58% of the time in the second half. Not really any tempo change that we're expecting. So that is the game state at halftime of Bears versus Commanders. Gilles, I think it's time to look at some touchdowns. What do you think?
Hell yes. So first guy, if we wanted to undo this.
Hold on. We got to go. Gilles, I'm going to interrupt you right now, because we got to go Khalil Herbert plus 425 at Bet365.
That's exactly where I was going, because I was like, how do we undo this wrong?
Yes, that's how we're undoing the wrong. That is how we're undoing the wrong. We're going to go. You want to do half a unit, full unit at plus 425?
I'm going to do, I'll do a full unit on Herbert, actually. If you want to do a half unit each, that's good
so
for
me.
I'm ready to smash it.
I love that. And he's already down to 4-1. But we had plus 385 fair without that Roshan Johnson coming out of the game deal. So plus 425 Khalil Herbert was our anytime touchdown pick, a full unit there to right the wrong there. So now y'all are hitting him. He's already down to plus 375. So it sounds like you guys are hitting him. Anywhere else you want to look for second half touchdowns? We got a nice long halftime here to work with.
Yeah, I mean, we could immediately look at the Commanders pass catchers, but I'm not loving the value on McLaurin, even though he has been getting looks. Obviously, he's going to be out there, but do we want to maybe look at Samuel again, or maybe Jahan Dotson again at 425? It's a nice little value here as well. If we're already in on Dotson getting some receptions here, that's probably not a bad spot. Now, if you wanted to look at Sam Howell from a garbage time perspective and running it in at plus 750, I'd entertain it. But again, I think we still have to stick with the pass catchers right now. Even like a Logan Thomas at 650, I would consider.
So which one are you considering first?
I'm going to say Dotson. Let's go with Dotson at 450.
Dotson at 450. We have plus 367 in the model, but we have to remember that the Commanders don't start with the ball. You mentioned Curtis Samuel. We have him at plus 490, and he's plus 650 at Bet365 for second half anytime touchdown. And then McLaurin at plus 280, we have plus 315. So the value is with Dotson or Samuel. A little more value technically with Samuel, but I know you already were on him pregame. So if you want to, hedge your own bets, you could also go with Dotson. So I'll leave it up to you, Gilles. What do you think?
Well, one more before we decide. Can you let me know what the value is for Logan Thomas as well?
We have plus 555. So not quite as good as Curtis Samuel, where we had plus 490.
Yeah. I mean, I probably would still go with Dotson. I think if we're going to double down on it, I think the 3.5 receptions, I think we're getting that. I think he's going to get one over the top on this defense, just sleeping. I think Dotson is who I would look at.
Yeah. So Jahan Dotson is going to be the guy we take. I think probably a half unit on this because the value isn't as big. So Jahan Dotson plus 450 for a second half anytime touchdown. I'm just going to refresh some of these sites real quick and make sure. Yeah, there we go. I'm not missing anything. Yes, plus 350 at FanDuel. And then if we look at DraftKings, it is not this drive anytime plus 280. So yeah, plus 450 is really nice value for comparing, for shopping around. Bet 365 at plus 450, Jahan Dotson. So that's what I was talking about. If you have access to Bet 365 plus 450 for second half anytime touchdown, we're going to go half a unit on that one.
And
any thoughts on the Chicago side of the ball?
Well, on the Chicago side, I'm going to look at that. I just wanted to remind people why we do this for the second half anytime touchdown, because just the irregularities, like the such rarity that even though you are an overtime guru, it just doesn't happen as often as you think. So don't give up the value by taking the full anytime. Just go for the second half anytime when you do that. Now, from a Chicago perspective, we've already got Khalil Herbert. Does Fields want to go for one? It's either that or we're going to be looking at the next running back behind him. So right there, you've got Travis Homer at 40-1. And I mean, no, I was going to look at Tyler Scott, but I see people talking about Tyler Scott in the chat. I don't think I can get there, but Travis Homer would be the next guy up if they're doing third running back. He's right now at 40-1 to score a touchdown in the second half.
Yeah, I don't really want to. We got 40-1 as fair, actually. So right there, right there.
Well, just like fair. Even FanDuel, that he's down to like 12-1 to score at FanDuel. So that's why I was like, whoa, okay, that's a big discrepancy.
Yeah, I understand. Sure. I mean, there could be increased usage if this stays as a blowout. That's just one thing that's really hard to project. Again, with the Commanders starting with the ball back in the second half here, there's a chance this game just kind of what we call rubber bands, right? And comes back together where, the Bears take it a little easy, make it, more prevent defense kind of deal. So
the other question I was going to ask
is, go with a backup until we're getting maybe towards partway through the third quarter almost into the fourth.
Right. Now, McLaurin has one reception here at halftime. For him to have 4 more catches is plus 105. I was actually maybe wondering if maybe we wanted to look at the under 4.5 at minus 135, I think it's minus 125 at one spot, minus 135 on another. I know we're trying to, there's just not everybody's going to catch the ball. I think that's the one thing, like if somebody's going to have, I just don't think that they're all going to go over their round here. So I think McLaurin would probably be somebody that I'd be looking at where maybe he gets just a little bit more extra coverage still in the second half.
Yeah, no, that's interesting. Let me pull up his reception prop. You said it was 4.5. Is there any juice on that?
Yeah, it's minus 135, minus 135 to the under. But let me just double check for.
And he has one now, so we want him to stay under 4.5. So he could have at most 3. So let me just real quick grab that formula and drag it up here. So if he has 3, he's still under, right? So we have him 60% to the under, which is right there. Minus 136 versus minus 150 is what we have. So I don't know if there's enough wiggle room there to kind of beat the juice, especially when you consider potential model error. The Commanders are starting with the ball. It is a little scary. Yeah. So we'll pass on that one, but definitely an interesting thought, because you're right. All the Commanders receivers cannot. I mean, they can, I guess, technically, but it seems like somebody is going to have to go under. We have, while we're there, we have Curtis Samuel projected for 2.2 receptions rest of game. So, just something to keep in mind there as well. He has 1 reception. So that would put him at a total of 3.2 average. But again, minus 166 juice to the under. So we can't really look at Samuel there either. So we're gonna have to look somewhere else.
All right, let's go right to the head of the snake then. Let's go to Sam Howell. So he's got 71 passing yards right now at halftime. His line is at 244.5.
We're right in line with that.
Yeah, I would just thought that maybe we could look at an under on this spot. I'm always trying to see if there's maybe a sneaky under that's sitting there right in front of your face, because everybody loves to bet the overs in these spots. But I mean, unless they completely dice them in the second half, I just don't see how he gets 241.
I agree with you. That Darnell Mooney over half reception looks so good. I love that we got that one. I'm real quick just trying to see what might be the best value. We have potentially, let's see. I want to look at Cole Kmet because, we talked about the Bears, how they are going to have to throw at some point, and he's probably still going to be in the game. But I do want to see if we have value on either his over or his under on his receiving yards. He has 42 right now. So,
and it's at 47.5 right now. That's the line.
Yeah, so exactly.
Oh man, that's one more catch. Like,
it is. It's one more catch, essentially. Well, I guess then we should also just look at his receptions, right? He has 5 for 42. We have him projected rest of game for 1.3 receptions. So that would be his average. So Cole Kmet, just in terms of actual receptions, his receptions for rest of game is 5.5 with plus 138 to the under. And 186 the over. So if anything, I'd rather look at his yardage just because that under, we're at 1.3. So it seems more likely he's going to go over.
Do you want to take a look at that 42.5? Like I would take
it's a tough one.
I kind of want to take it because I feel like he's still going to throw. Like I can't see them only running in the second half. And so far it's been the DJ Moore, Cole Kmet show. Now, obviously we still want Darnell Mooney. He'll still probably get a catch here at some point, but this is 5-6 yards. Like,
it's a tough one. I really liked his under pregame and when it was in the higher 30s, and then it got bet all the way down to like 32 pregame. So it may have gone too far, like 32.5, something like that. So I think oh man, you want to do it, Jill?
I'm doing it. Like I've been thinking about it. Let's go over 47.5 for Cole Kmet, a 6-yard reception in the second.
I have 65% to the over. So we'll go Cole Kmet over 47.5 receiving yards. We're just going to hold your breath and do it. One of those deals for Cole Kmet. So let's see. We got a couple minutes left before halftime is over. What other spots you got, Jill? We got Sam Howell plus 162. Like I said, for an interception. I don't know. Let me click over to his interceptions.
So I got a really gross one here. Really gross one.
What is it?
Justin Fields to throw an interception in the second half.
We have plus 267.
It is plus 425 right now for him to throw an interception in the second
plus 425.
That is correct.
With plus 267 is fair. I mean, they are going to have to pass the ball at some point. When it's that long, I don't mind a quarter or a half unit sprinkle on that.
I mean, I already bet it pregame at minus 125 because I thought it should have been closer for fair odds around minus 150. I mean, he's thrown an interception in 20 of 28 games that he's played. So, I mean, to get it at plus 425, I'm not saying that we maybe need to put a full unit on it, but I definitely would consider putting a half unit on it to double down.
Yeah. And people are saying that Cole Kmet was 45.5 at FanDuel. So if you're shopping around, we can't see every line at every book at every single moment in time. So hopefully you all got him at 45.5, but it's pretty much just one catch there anyway for Cole Kmet. So yeah, plus 425, plus 420. I think we got to do it.
Yeah.
It's gross. I'm going to do just quarter unit. I don't want to go big on that one because the Bears could be pretty run heavy here. Yeah. But we're going to go Justin Fields over half a reception plus 425. I'm just doing 1/4 unit on that one. And that brings us to the end of halftime. So, Gilles, we were firing away on this one. I like it. It was fun.
Yeah, man. I love being able to get some extra bets in, especially some value on these touchdown scores, because once a game script kind of flips and you could see that there's going to be a very pass heavy second half, the fact that we're able to get pretty much every Commander's pass catcher at plus 250 or more, I love it. So the fact that we've got Dotson here, double down with the receptions, I'm all in. Let's go.
Yeah, and we got that Khalil Herbert anytime, second half anytime touchdown to hopefully ease the pain of that bet we took earlier, because he immediately ripped off a 16-yard run right after we took that. So that is going to do it for Bet What Happens Live here on Thursday Night Football. We'll be back for Monday Night Football, Bet What Happens Live. We'll see you there. And as my good friend Gilles Gallant likes to say here, bon chance.